Welcome. Today I have Dr. John Demartini. Dr. Demartini is a best-selling author. He's written about 40 books so far, and he is also an international educator. And he is also a public speaker in human behavior. Welcome to the show, Dr. Demartini.
Thank you.
So, I want us to go a little bit back and talk about your childhood and limiting beliefs.
Well, when I was born, I had a deformity of my arms and legs, or my left arm and left leg, and I had difficulty, standing and walking, and also moving my hand. I had speech problems. I had to go to a speech pathologist. When I was in first grade, my teacher told my parents that I would never be able to read or write, or never communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life. So I had some challenges, and they were the authorities, and I believed it, and so I assumed that that was the way I was. And from about age 7 to about age 17, I believed that I was never going to be intelligent. I ended up leaving school and dropping out of school, and I was blessed at age 17 to meet a teacher that had a different belief, and he believed that I was capable of doing amazing things, and he inspired me to want to believe that I could be intelligent and could learn and could read, and my life changed. So for 10 years I had a belief that I would never do much in my life, and then at 17 I had a change in belief, and one man, one night, 1 hour with one message changed my whole thinking. And so I can say thank you to him, because where I am today is because of that man's thinking.
So was there anything specific that he said that, you looked and said, oh wow, I can do this?
Well, he said that we had a body, we had a mind, and we had a soul. And the body must be directed by the mind, and the mind must be directed by the soul if we want to maximize our potential. He said that what we think about, what we visualize, what we affirm, and what we feel has an impact on our life. And if we take command and fill our mind with what we really want instead of what we don't want, we increase the probability of achieving that. And he said to set goals for yourself, your family, your community, your city, your state, your nation, and your world for 100 to 120 years. And I started doing what he said. I started setting goals. I started to think differently. I started to fill my day with what I wanted. I started to prioritize things, in other words. And lo and behold, my life started to change. It wasn't overnight. It was a slow, steady thing, little bitty things. But like I say, piggy banks become piggy banks. If you stay with something long enough, it starts to make a change. So I can say thank you to that man, because if it wasn't for him, I'm not sure where I would be today. But I applied what he said. It certainly was work involved, but I applied what the gentleman said. And ever since then, I've had a dream to do the same thing for other people. I had one setback when I turned 18. I failed my first, I first took a GED, a high school equivalency test. And then I took a college test, I guessed, and I passed those. And then I took my first college class, and I thought I was going to pass that like the other two tests, and I ended up failing really low. I got a 27 instead of a 72. And I almost gave up on that, because I thought I could hear that first grade teacher talking to me. And then I just sat there, and I was really having a low moment. My mom came to me and found me crying, actually. And she said, son, whether you become a great teacher and travel the world like you dream, or whether you return to the streets and panhandle as a bum, just want to let you know that your father and I are going to love you no matter what. And her love that moment turned things into opportunity. And I remember making a fist and saying, I'm going to learn this thing called reading, I'm going to learn this thing called studying and teaching, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, travel whatever distance, pay whatever price to give my service of love. And I hugged my mom, and I went in my room, and I started reading a dictionary, and I started memorizing 30 words a day until my vocabulary was strong enough to pass. And once I started passing, I was thirsty for knowledge. I just wanted to learn. And so I never gave up on that. I just kept going, and I ended up doing quite well in school, and 10 years later I graduated with a doctorate degree, and I'm off on the road hitchhiking, you might say, a different way.
Yes, and you have set up the Demartini Institute, and it's now in its 33 year, and you've developed all the curriculum. How did that come about?
Well, anytime I would find something that assisted myself and the people that I was helping, I would correlate it and started to put together classes and programs together to assist people in maximizing their life. And it just kept going. I've about 74 courses that I'm involved in teaching now, and anything to help people master their life, basically. We have 7 areas: our spiritual quest, our mind development quest, our vocational career quest, our financial independence quest, our family love and intimacy quest, our social leadership and influence quest, and our physical well-being and beauty quest. In order to master your life, you want to empower as many areas as possible. So we have courses in each of those areas to help people do extraordinary things with their life.
Could you talk a little bit about the breakthrough experience, especially dealing with death, the loss of a loved one, pet, or losing your job?
Well, the breakthrough experience is one of my signature programs. I do it about 43 times a year. I've done it for over 26 years, and I love doing that program. I'm going to do that just about every weekend. And what I do there is do my best to do what I can to do what that gentleman did for me when I was 17, to help people see everything in their life on the way, not in the way, to help them take command of their destiny, you might say, to help them orchestrate their life around what's inspiring to them, to determine their values, determine how to prioritize their life, how to organize their life, how to set goals that they achieve, basic things that will help them master their life. And then also in there, in one of the sections on the second day of the program, we actually go in there and show them how to, whenever you've had a loss of any form, loss of business, loss of opportunity, loss of loved ones, loss of pets, doesn't matter, how to dissolve grief and how to dissolve emotional baggage that weighs people down. It stops people from getting inspired. And we transform all those emotions into thank you, I love you, and get down to doing something amazing in your life. So, and the Demartini value determination process, which is a series of questions to help you identify what's really important to you, so you can set goals according to what's really most important. Anytime you set goals according to what's highest on your values, you tend to achieve, and whenever you're doing it on lower values, you tend to lower your achievement level. So the program is designed to help people maximize their dreams and their ambitions in life.
So in terms of letting go of those priorities, do you think it's because we human beings we have this need to be loved and seeking validation? That's why we subordinate to other people's values?
We do want to be loved and appreciated for who we are, but sometimes we think that subordinating to somebody else is the way to get it. But that's not really the wisest way. You get the most respect if you're authentic and if you stand up. When you're in a relationship and you get with somebody that basically does everything they can to support you and just appease you. I mean, imagine you're dating a guy and he says, I just want to do whatever you want me to do, or tell me what to do, just please you and everything else. You'd say, go get a life.
Of course, yeah.
But if you get a guy that tells you all the time what to do and doesn't allow you to be you, you also say, go get a life.
Sure.
So you got to find somebody that supports and challenges you, that you can banter with, that you respect. And so real love is that respecting level. And some people can confuse with subordination to somebody that's a way of showing love for somebody, or that they're going to like you. That's not the answer. It's being authentic and standing your ground, not confrontationally in a sense, but being able to stand up and then learning how to dialogue with other people's values too. That's the key.
So being your authentic self. And you've also spoken a lot about gratitude. We've seen, we've read a lot of books on gratitude and keeping the gratitude journal. But personally, I believe, gratitude without action, you don't see the results.
Well, I think that gratitude is the key that opens up the gateway of the heart. I think inside the heart is love.
Yes.
And I think that love, when it comes out, it kind of cleanses the mind and brings inspiration and brings enthusiasm to the body. But that enthusiasm brings action. So if you're inspired by something and you're grateful for your life, you tend to initiate inspired action. And when you take actions, you get results. So it's inspired, clarified, and prioritized actions in addition to gratitude that makes amazing things. I have the largest gratitude journal of anybody I've ever met. It doesn't mean that there's not somebody out there with one. I just haven't met them yet.
Yes.
But I'm a firm believer in keeping a document on that. In fact, this interview is already on that.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
What are the powers and potential of our beliefs? How does that, shape our reality? Because you have overcome so many things, from you mentioned at one point that you were born with feet that were inwards, and now you walk perfectly. So how did that change?
With my foot and my arm, they were all turned in. I still write awkward. People still see, you're sort of writing funny. But I had braces on my arm and leg. And because I was left-handed, in those days, in the 1950s, they considered left-handed people sinister. So they put me in the braces thinking I would turn over and use my right hand, but I never did. I still use my left hand a lot.
Yeah.
But I had to wear braces, which straightened my arm and leg over time. So that was part of it. And then once I got out of the braces, my parents said, you'll get out of them and stay out of them if you keep your arm and leg straight. If not, we got to put you back in. So I was determined to try to keep my arm and leg straight after that. So it was a constant combination of my braces and also my will to keep my arm straight.
Yes.
So anytime you have something that you really want to do, you can overcome things. And I've met some people that have done extraordinary things. Some people have been burned in their entire body and become great speakers and overcome the people's reaction to them. I've seen people without legs all of a sudden become gymnasts and basketball players without even legs. I mean, I've seen people that have no arms or legs and are going out and doing extraordinary things with their body. It's not what happens to you, it's how you perceive what you decide to do with it and how you act. That's the key. That's what you have control. You have control of your perceptions, you have control of your actions, and you have control of your decisions.
Yes.
But what happens to you on the outside is not what matters, is what you decide to do with it.
But you've also done physiotherapy. You were a chiropractor, and you've left that field. Why is that?
I wanted to be involved in teaching, healing, and philosophy when I was 17.
Yes.
And then the healing art that I chose was chiropractic. And I'm still a chiropractor. I just don't practice, although sometimes I still give adjustments. The only reason I'm not is because I felt, I knew that I was going to practice for 5 years, and I did exactly that. And then I was going to travel the world and I was going to teach. But I didn't want to be in one cubicle working with somebody and keep a limited number of people I wanted to reach. I knew that I could, with radio and television, newspapers, magazines, and other vehicles, movies and things, I could reach way more people. So I wanted to get out, and I didn't want to constrain myself to one location. When I thought that I would see 100 new patients a month, and I would do that for 40 years, and I would see 50,000 people, I realized that that was going to be a limit on what I could do in life. Not that it wasn't a great service, because it was inspiring. I saw some amazing stuff happen in my hands, working with my hands, but I just felt it was too limited as far as my contribution to the world.
When you talk about the spiritual values, you say that the divine is both within and without.
Yes. Well, I tend to think, many people, when they think of the divine, they think of some anthropomorphic image of a God made in their own image kind of thing.
Yeah.
I tend to think of it as more of an impersonalized intelligence that's permeating the universe, that's basically running the individual quantum levels of the cells, through the cells, all the way to the body, through the society and family and society and the world. It's kind of a universal phenomenon. And I believe that if we are living really congruently and living authentically, we tend to have the most gratitude, and I think we tune in to that intelligence intuitively and with inspiration to what lives and makes life work. When we go and study the cell, it's so complex, it's so amazing looking at the cell that it would be hard to think that all the great Nobel Prize winners all woven into one class, they don't know how to run a cell. That cell's running way more than what we can figure out. And 3.9 billion years ago, there was a cell on the planet, way before there was intelligent human beings.
Yes.
So somehow that intelligence, whatever that is running the show. And we need to, in a sense, probe and to find out what that mystery is. But at the same time, we need to be humble because it's certainly there before we are even aware of it.
Wonderful. That's so it's not some deep mystical.
Well, we can make it mystical, but I think human beings want to solve mysteries, and when they solve them, they go on to greater mysteries. And we haven't solved exactly what life is, and we might not ever. Probably will pursue it though. But in the process of doing that, I think that we have to humble ourselves before that great mystery, but then at the same time not give up on the pursuit of figuring it out. The combination of those two are essential.
Wow, that could be a topic on its own.
Yes, it is a good topic.
Yeah, and one of the things that you mentioned was that you are not a motivational speaker, you're an inspirational speaker. What is the difference between the two?
Well, when somebody is living in alignment and congruent with their highest value, they're inspired from within. They don't need motivation on the outside. I've not required any motivation for 43 years. I don't need people to remind me and motivate me to do things. But when somebody's not living by their highest values and trying to please everybody else and trying to be somebody they're not, they constantly need motivation to get them to move. And so I'm not a motivational speaker because a motivation is a symptom, never a solution. It's a symptom of not being inspired from within.
Let's say, because I work a lot with young people, so we set up a social enterprise, for example, and 6 months down the track, the kid is feeling burned out. It's looking for, inspiration. So is that going back to the why, or how do we keep them going?
Well, we have to find out what's important to them at that stage. We can't impose and suppose what that is. We have to find out what it actually is, determine what their values are, and have them link the responsibilities they have to that. Because if they can't, they'll burn out, they'll get bored, and they'll want to go somewhere else and do something else. You have to find out what's really inspiring to them. And they know if they look carefully, we can find it. It's not hard. We can look at what their life demonstrates. But if you don't link it to that, they're going to be constantly needing to be motivated all the time. And I'm always amazed at how parents sometimes will see a teenager, maybe 18, 19, 20 years old, or maybe 18 or 17. And they'll think they're lazy, they're not motivated, all they want to do is sleep. But they can stay out till 2 in the morning doing what they love to do, partying, entertainment, socializing, listening to music. They're inspired by music at that time. They're inspired by socializing at the time. They can stay for hours, 8 hours doing that. They can party all night. So they're not unmotivated or uninspired. They're inspired by something that the parents don't think is important. So the parents are labeling them a lazy person when in fact they're doing quite good. If my son, when he was partying a little bit, if he asked me, come on, son, Dad, you're lazy. You won't stay out till 2 in the morning. You won't party with me. What's wrong with you? You're lazy. You're not motivated. Da, da, da. In my values, that doesn't inspire me, but in his values, it does. So beware of proposing and projecting values onto other people and then labeling them lazy.
What advice would you give to parents out there who think, their children are troubled and they're not doing what the parents are asking them to do?
Well, one of the illusions that occurred in the 1950s in psychology was that the children are born blank slates and that the parents had to impose values on them and teach them values and get them straightened out, get them to fit into society. The challenge with that idea is it's not honoring the uniqueness of the child, because in fact the children are already born with values, they already have priorities in their life, and they're constantly evolving as they go through life. So the wisest thing I can say for parents is to, instead of imposing a self-righteous, autocratic view for the child and fixing the child to match what it expects for the child, why not uncover what the child's really inspired by naturally, its natural gifts, and help them waken those up. Jacob Barnett, who's a genius, who's up in Canada right now in school, he's 15 years old, he's tackling Einstein's equations, he's one of the brightest kids on the block. Terence Tao is 39 now, but he's from Adelaide, Australia. Both those parents did what they could to surround the child with what's inspiring to the child and let the child excel. Both of those children are exceptional today because of that. The children that I've worked with in Africa, who we identified what their real natural values are and linked all the classes to that, have excelled and done way more than the kids that are being imposed righteously onto them. So instead of imposing, just like in any form of communication, if you impose on a sales process to the customer, you need this, you should buy this, you're supposed to do this is what you need, the person says, back off, dude. I'll make my own decision. If you do that to employees, the same thing. You'll end up with a union. If you do it to your own children, you'll end up with resistance, defiance disorder, attention deficit disorder, and labels and medication on the kids. But if you help them find out what's inspiring to them and help them link whatever is needed in their life that they need to learn to that and help them grow in that way, then their genius will be naturally awakened. So be aware, because your children may grow up trying to please you and destroying their lives, trying to be somebody they're not, only to try to please you because they want to be affected and get affection from you. Love them and appreciate them for who they are. Help them find out what that is. Link what it is that you think will be of necessary learning to them in those values, and they'll absorb that and they'll continue to be themselves. They want to be loved and appreciated for who they are, not who they're supposed to be.
Exactly. And talking about Africa, you did a program there called Hero Within. That was a great success. Could you tell us a bit about that?
Well, we were speaking to both the prisons and also to the police departments, and we started with the police departments, and they gave us thousands of policemen and women. And what we did is we explained to them that, we explained to South Africa, the country, on media, that if you're at a rugby game or a soccer game, and there's nobody in the fans in the stands, and they're out there playing, they're not going to play their greatest game. But if you have fans in the stands, they'll rally and they'll go out and perform better. So to help the police department realize it, I think that people were judging what was going on in the police department instead of being in the stands and making fans out of them. And in the process of doing it, when they started to appreciate them and started to show them affection and appreciation for their job, there was less corruption that was going on. They were less likely to, overdo things and overreact and take out their aggressions. So the police department definitely performed more effectively when they were loved and appreciated and people were there for them. So it's like a Pygmalion effect. If we expect them to perform poorly, they probably will. But if we see them and we see their possibility, we get that possibility. So the hero within is everybody's got a hero inside. The police department had the heroes inside, and when we treat them like a hero, they became the hero. Well, I didn't start being conscious of my wellness until probably 17 when I met Paul Bragg.
Yes.
So I don't eat food I eat only food. I don't eat anything that's not really food. I don't put junk food in. I don't eat sweets. I haven't had sugar or salt or any white flour to say, except sometimes it's in foods that I'm having to eat on a plane or something. I don't ever add that to my diet because it's not food. I only put food in my body. So I eat fresh fruit, I eat yogurt, I eat fresh bread, multigrain bread, vegetables, salmon, fish. I mean, I eat well, and I think that helps me. I'm going on 61 and I'm still cranking. I feel like I'm still got more energy than most 30-year-olds out there. So I'm a believer that if you fuel your body wisely and you don't live to eat, but you eat to live, yes, and you do something that's meaningful and inspiring to you, your body will go quite a ways. But that is insanity, to keep feeding people junk and expect them to get maximum performance out of their life. You need true nutrition, exactly, and it's wise to do that. We're overfed, undernourished. That's it. In fact, there's a new movie that's called Overfed, Undernourished that I got to be a part of and be in the movie. And I encourage people to watch that because it's a wake-up call for people.
Very good. My mom is a food and nutritionist, so I've been very lucky that, I've been exposed to whole foods. But you have something exciting coming up. John's song, what's that about?
Well, actually, in about 3 days,
yes,
we're launching a new song. And what happened was somebody who's involved in creating songs and has music and singing and chorus and everything else and all the technology for it, heard me speaking at a conference in Mexico. Got a copy of the video live that was there, and he loved some of what I had said, and so he took that as backdrop, and he put in music and singing and some of the principles that I shared, and made a song revolving out of my work, and made it. And it is, I'm inspired. It's a really amazing song. I really believe it's going to hit the radio and hit the charts because it's people who listen to it start dancing and singing, and they can't get it out of their heads. It's a lyric that just keeps going. So it's my song, in a sense. That's what it's called. Yeah. It has my teachings in it, but the singing is actually done by a chorus, and it's all about gratitude. It's about living your life with gratitude and being authentic.
I can't wait for it to come out.
Yeah, it's coming out Monday, so I'm
inspired. 2 more days to go. 2, 3? Yeah.
3 days.
3 days to go.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. John Demartini, for this interview.
Yes, thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I have so many things that I love to share with people. Let neither support or challenge interfere with pursuit of mission. For in fact, you need both to obtain your destiny. If you get over-supported and protected, you never grow and mature. But every challenge that you may have labeled terrible has a hidden benefit. Do not wait a day, a week, a month, a year, or 5 years later to discover that in the crisis there's a blessing. I know some people that think they're too big or too small or too short or too tall, but you have been given a body that is perfect for your mission. The moment you realize that and have gratitude for that is the moment your body takes you to new heights.
Love is love is love, as it is below, so it is above. Love is love, as it is below, so it is above. And it's all about you, and it's all about me. And all the G-R-A-T-I-T-U-D. And it's all about you, and it's all about me. And all the G-R-A-T-I-T-U-D. But it's all about love.
The more you value yourself, the more the world values you.
But it's all about love.
The more you invest in yourself, the more the world invests in you. You got to be able to say, wow. Tonight when you go to bed, before you go to bed, and you are as authentic as you can be, I want you to stand in front of the mirror and say, wow, wow, wow. Because if you can't love yourself, why would you expect somebody else to?
Love is love is love, as it is below, so it is above. Love is love, as it is below, so it is above. And it's all about you, and it's all about me. And all of our G-R-A-T-I-T-U-D. And it's all about you, and it's all about me. And all of our G-R-A-T-I-T-U-D. But it's all about love.
On the last day of your life, you're going to be asking yourself a question. Did I do everything I could with everything I was given? You want to be able to say yes. I gave it my all.
But it's all